Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Breakdown After Dark. I'm your host. Oh, geez, I'm washed. Casey Smith, joined as always by my two co-hosts, Mr. Aidan Dobell and Keenan Vaughn. We got a lot on the slate for you. College basketball might be over, and college football has been well done for a while, but the NFL draft is coming up. The NBA postseason is right around the corner, and we have plenty to talk about all around. And the WNBA draft was today. Before any of that, Aidan and Keenan, how you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. I got a little crash course, I'd say, in how to, edit some nice posts on Premiere and get them to TikTok. So, um, you know, it, it, people can expect to see some more TikToks from me in the near future.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited to get that posted on the YouTube and whatnot. Yeah,
For
Keenan.
sure.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty nervous because this is gonna be a really busy week for me. ASU spring football is almost over. I'm still debating on whether or not I'm gonna go to the Fan Fest, um, and I'm gonna go cover for my internship with Arizona Sports 98.7. I will be in Glendale Friday and potentially Sunday to go cover the Fiesta Bowl Flag Football Classic, which is a new thing, first time. Really excited to do that. So it's gonna be a heck of a week.
What is the flag football classic? Is it like girls flag football or like
Yes,
how does that
yes.
work? Okay.
So it's a new thing where it's basically like college teams. It's like ASU will have a team there, GCU will have a team there, USC, Fresno State, a couple other schools. It'll basically be like a women's flag football tournament hosted by the Fiesta Bowl.
Nice.
I'm trying to work on something with the stream here because we're dropping a lot of frames, so I'm gonna try to fix that real quick.
I,
Um,
I could hear my voice like in the background.
yeah. Okay, that's weird. I might switch over to my hotspot, but we're dropping a lot of frames on the stream visually. Audio wise, we're doing okay, but I think I'm gonna switch over to the Wi-Fi because for whatever reason, yeah, that's terrible upload speed. Okay, let me shoot. Can I do this midstream or is everything gonna die and explode? We'll see if everything dies and explodes. It shouldn't, but you never know. Wow, that was really bad. That was really bad. That was really bad. I don't know if I don't even know if I'm still live anymore. Can you guys even hear me? Oh my gosh. No, I'm gonna fix it. I'm still live right now. This is terrible. Okay, I'm still live. Aiden, can you go ahead?
Uh, with what? I mean,
I don't even know what. Okay,
I,
give me a
I,
second. We're back live. You guys are on air.
are
Give
we
me a second
just?
to fix something. Okay,
Okay.
can you
Um,
guys hear me?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, why
you're
is it
good.
not connecting my earbuds? Can you guys just talk for a second while I try to figure this out, please? Just, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, just
now I
talk so
can.
that there's something is
What?
going on with the stream, please. Just talk about anything
I'm
about
sorry.
sports or how your
You
days are going.
Man, just something hit my eardrums. Like your voice stuttered like crazy. So I don't know. If we need to stall for time, then Aiden, why don't we just go ahead and we were just talking about it. I don't mean to spoil what we're gonna get into with the NFL. But let's the NFL draft is officially what, like maybe like less than 2 weeks away. I don't mean to spoil what we're gonna get into with the NFL. So let's kind of talk about who we think could potentially rise and fall, mainly in round one, round two of the draft.
Hmm.
With my main pick as a riser, I think Kenyon Sadiq could go a bit higher than people are expecting. I will admit, it doesn't really match with who I think is maybe the most ideal fit. I think Kenyon Sadiq would be a great Carolina Panther. I think They don't really have a great, outstanding tight end room that would give Bryce Young another weapon to play with. And Kenyon Sadiq is a freak. Would you kind of agree with me if I said he's not really a traditional tight end in a sense where he's
Yeah.
so athletic. He's a good blocker, but you could almost treat him as a little bit of a wide receiver and not just fit him into the tight end, the strict tight end guidelines.
Yeah, I think Kenyon Sadiq is one of those guys who you'll see kind of be used almost like a big slot receiver. He'll line up outside a little bit. I really don't like he is a decent blocker, but I don't think he'll actually be an inline tight end that often for a team. That just isn't really his skill set. I like, especially against the run. I think he's around 235 pounds, maybe. I just don't know how that stacks up against like a 290-pound defensive end if he's trying to engage with them in the run game. But he is an absolute matchup nightmare for any defense. So um, you can get really creative with like how you want to try to use him. Yeah, he's similar mold, I guess, to Colson Loveland, although Loveland is bigger and is a much better blocker.
The problem for me is that, Colson Loveland was more productive in college. He had more tape than Kenyon Sadiq, but I think at the end of the day, the athleticism is just so off the charts for Sadiq that it could, in a sense, that the Panthers could just be hoping that he falls that far because there could even be a team like I find a hard time like believing a lot of the reports that the Rams could pick him. I think I don't think Ferguson and Parkinson is the be all end all of tight ends, but I think they have maybe other priorities to fulfill. What about the Ravens? I think the Ravens would make sense. I am not a believer in Mark Andrews. Like I think he's been on the decline the last few years. I don't think that they should have him as the one and only option in the tight end room. Isaiah Likely's gone. It would make a ton of sense for the Ravens to pick Sadiq. So I could really see him rising up into the top 15. But in terms of falling, I've said that my pick was going to be Akeem Mesidor. And it sucks because I like Mesidor a lot, and he was incredibly productive in college, especially last season. When you watch the tape, he was dominant. It really just has to do with one, he's got a lengthy injury history, which we go to Arizona State. We are worried that Jordan Tyson could suffer the same fate. And the second is that he's 25, and we don't know how NFL teams are going to react to that, if that's really going to affect his draft stock. But I could see him dropping maybe into the 20s range.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think that's too crazy. I think as of now he's probably already might be projected to go in the 20s and like is there a world where he falls out of the first round? Probably not. I think he's simply too talented, but you know, does because of age and injury history, does a guy like Zion Young or Malachi Lawrence or TJ Parker, do some of those guys potentially get pushed up maybe ahead of Mesidor? I don't know, but um, I love Mesidor as a prospect. I really think if you're looking for a guy who will just add like instant pass rush from day one, Mesidor's your guy. But the long-term projection's tough because you're looking at a guy that by the end of his rookie contract, if he's a first-round pick, he's going to be almost 30 years old, which is crazy to think about. But that just is the reality of some of these prospects that we're going to have, because of the extra red shirts and the COVID years and whatnot.
Not to cut you guys off. I was hoping you guys wouldn't talk about NFL, but anyways, no, I got everything fixed, so we're all good. I guess what's the point of going back to the intro? I guess we can
Might
just
as well just dive in.
we can just
You
keep.
want to dive into some NBA?
No, we can let's just finish the NFL segment. And
Okay.
then we'll circle back to the NBA.
Okay.
The one thing I was gonna do was show off my shirt.
The triple T.
Triple T shirt. Can I get your guys' thoughts?
Um, I did get to see this in person. Um, I mean, what an absolute TikTok shop snipe. The tung 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 Sahur shirt is. Um,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
just what a find.
I'm afraid we're gonna see a lot more of those shirts in future WCSN meetings now.
Oh yeah, you're gonna walk into a WCSN meeting and the entire room is gonna have tung 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 Sahur shirts on.
that is the goal ultimately is to spread the good word of Tong Tong of Triple T. But no, let's continue with our NFL spot. So you guys were talking about risers and fallers from what I can hear.
Mhm.
Give me a quick recap of what y'all said, just so I can catch up to
So
speed.
we went. I think that Kenyon Sadiq could rise up draft boards higher than people expect, and I could also see Akeem Mesidor just having too many red flags and falling down to around the 20s and 30s range of the first round.
When you say rise higher than people expect, how far do you think he could go?
I Now it's tough because I think a lot of people mock him between like 15 and 20 maybe, or
I've
maybe
seen him go
just
as high as nine
outside of that.
because he could be
Yeah,
the heir apparent to Kelsey.
I don't think that is that crazy. I think he really could be like, I would say probably eighth overall, maybe to the Saints would be like the absolute highest that I could see him going. Um, I don't know that he goes that high, but eight or nine. I mean, if he's the Kelsey replacement, I don't. I if all of a sudden he's the ninth overall pick, I would not be too shocked.
This might sound like, and this is just general draft advice. Um, this isn't to do with any specific prospect, and it might sound like a weird thought process, but I am pro reaching. Now that inherently kind of like sounds bad, like reaching on a guy, like you sounds like you're losing value. But what I mean by that is like if he's your guy at 18, but you have the 12th pick,
Take
take him
him
at
at 12.
12.
Yeah.
I mean, like you don't have, it's different if you're reaching multi rounds and whatnot. But like, go get your guy. When we do mock drafts in 5 years, people aren't looking at positional fit really. People aren't looking at, not that positional fit does matter, but people don't look at those things. If you reached 5 picks on a guy, they just draft the best players. So you should draft who you genuinely think is the best. But yeah, 9 would be quite high, at least from, I mean, probably pre-draft cycle. He was much lower. Certainly not as high as 9. But what other prospects are you guys thinking about?
You had a really good example, Aiden. And this is a guy who I've had a lot of conversations with people at work because Monroe Freeling is shooting up draft boards, and for good reason. I mean, he's a guy from Georgia, and one thing you can expect from Georgia players is one, they use the combine to rocket up their draft stock, and two, I mean, the potential is off the charts, especially with Freeling. He's a freak. The problem though is that doesn't have much college experience. He played in a limited amount of games. And he's still pretty raw. He's got things he needs to work on. He's not a finished product compared to guys, a little bit more refined like Maui Noah or Fano. But Freeling is a guy who I think he could absolutely maybe potentially sneak into the top 10 or even go as high as maybe like 12 or 13.
I mean, dare I say, I think he could go sixth overall to the Browns. I mean,
Absolutely. I don't think that's crazy.
like when you look at a lot of the tackles in this class, like a Maui Noah or a Spencer Fano, um, there really aren't there really aren't a ton of guys that can truly play left tackle. Like those guys are more right tackles. Um, Caleb Lomu, I guess, is a left tackle, and Caden Proctor is too. But I don't really love Caden Proctor as a prospect. I know a lot of people do. But Monroe Freeling is 6'7", 315 pounds, and moves very well. He's a great athlete. Like like you said, there's a lot to be improved, but there's a lot to like about Freeling. And I mean, like for the Browns, who desperately need to try to just improve their offensive line. I don't know that DeJuan Jones is going to be the long-term answer at left tackle. Freeland can absolutely be that guy for you.
Yeah, the as a Browns fan myself, the two biggest glaring holes on the team right now, well, maybe three, are probably quarterback, wide receiver, and tackle. Quarterback is such a mess that how much can you even really touch it? You have so much going on there. But for sure, they do need to get better at wide receiver and tackle. For you guys, what would you rather see the Browns go with at 6?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
I think I would rather them take a tackle simply because I think there are good receivers down the board. I don't know that you're going to get a good starting caliber left tackle down the board.
That's always kind of my thought process.
Yeah, it's different for. I'm trying to imagine the inverse of each situation. So I think most mock drafts have the Browns taking Cardinal Tate at 6, and then usually landing a guy like maybe Caleb Lomu, Blake Miller down the board, maybe a Max a Hennichor. But I kind of have to agree with Aidan. I think I would much rather just take a Malinoa, a Fana, or a Freeling, one of the top, maybe the first offensive lineman off the board, and then just hoping a guy like Jordan Tyson falls down, and you potentially got not only the best lineman in the draft, but the best wide receiver in the draft.
I feel like generally in this draft and in most drafts, the drop off between elite tackle prospect and day 2, day 3 tackle prospect is very large, while the drop off between receiver prospects is a lot smaller. So I agree with that line of reasoning. Like that's why I was big on the Chargers were in a similar situation. And they decided to go Joe Alt, and I believe it was Ladd was that draft class as well.
Yeah.
And that worked out very well for them because there's only so many Joe Alts every class. There's not this. I don't even know if this class has a Joe Alt level prospect. I would very much argue no. But either way, there's only so many elite tackle prospects. Either way you cut it, and you just have a much better chance of finding maybe a Ladd in later on in the draft, whether that's round 2 or round 3. But either way, I legitimately think like the Browns should just I think they have like 8 or 9 picks. They should draft like 4 receivers and 5 offensive linemen. I think that would be the ideal route because they're losing, I believe, 4 of their starters from last year, and a couple rotation guys as well.
Wyatt Teller, Joel Bitonio, Taylor. Who else?
I couldn't name any other guys besides those 2.
They're losing a lot of guys, and the receiver room is already very bad. So that's where the receiver room is particularly rough. It's bad when I'm yearning for Donovan Peoples-Jones to come back. No one wants to be in that situation. But any other players you want to talk about, risers or fallers, before we get into the Ruben Bain situation?
I mean, that does kind of relate to the topic of guys falling down the board with Ruben Bain. I mean, this is a serious situation that honestly harkens back to the Jalen Carter debacle back in 23, where I mean, Ruben Bain could go as high as maybe 3 or 4. I think 4 with the Titans, maybe the ceiling in my eyes. But now that this news is circulating, how far could he go? I know I did see a report where the Lions GM said that this was like not news to some NFL teams, that they had known about this for a while. But is that going to have an effect? Regardless, it doesn't matter if they knew it now or if they knew it back then. What's going to happen?
I mean, I would even before this news came out, I felt that Bain was a guy who could potentially drop in the class. Not like a ton, but he does not have very long arms. Like he has alarmingly short arms for a guy that would be drafted that high. I think they said like the shortest arms for defensive lineman drafted in the top 10 since like 2002. He doesn't have great bend. He's not a great speeder. He relies almost exclusively on power. And now there's off the field concerns as well. Like it seems like this is like it seems like he's destined to end up being like a Raven or a Cowboy, like and just falling to one of those two teams. We'll see where he ends up going, but I think the Ruben Bain draft slide could be very, very real.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it does. It's kind of weird to me that some you said some owners have like already were or front offices were already aware of the incident.
Yes, I saw an article where like Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions general manager, like he said that this was not news to him. Like he said that he had known about this for a while.
Yeah, I'm then. Well, either way, it's definitely not going to help draft stock. I think this is the last little NFL bit we have, but Aiden, I'm sure it's something that you would love to talk about. The Jeremiah Love situation, where you can imagine him going.
Um, yeah, I like the one spot which I think now makes even more sense is probably Tennessee at 4. I think like a lot of people are like, you know, get like the argument of get Cam Ward some help and get him a pass catcher. Jeremiah Love is a massive help for Cam Ward. You take a lot of pressure off of him by being able to have a good run game. Um, like Jeremiah Love checks every box. He is my number one player in this year's class. He has elite home run speed. He has good size, good power. He runs hard. He blocks very well. He's a great pass catcher. Like he does everything so well, and I think it will just take a lot of the stress off Cam Ward. Where, you know, I know the O line still isn't great, but it's not awful. Like there are worse O lines in the NFL, which is crazy to say. It is bad. It's a bad O line, but there are worse O lines. I think Jeremiah Love is just such a good player that I think if he's like I think if he's there for you, you should take him, because that will help Cam Ward out tremendously, and he is just that good of a player.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say I think that's probably in my mind the best fit for him just because it would add just a huge extra dimension to the Titans offense. Tony Pollard is not awful. I mean, you can do in my mind, you can do worse with him as your starting running back, but you can also do better, especially when you have the chance to get a guy like Jeremiah Love. Those kind of prospects don't come around often. Now, the one thing I have seen is that he could go as high as Arizona. I don't like the fit. I really don't see why the Cardinals would pick Jeremiah Love. And I would mainly be concerned for him because I don't like it when teams pick a luxury like running back before building up their offensive line. The Cardinals' offensive line is their top need going into this draft. There's a reason why Francis Mauigoa is the most mocked player to the Cardinals. It's because they have no long-term tackles. You can't pick a guy like Love without giving him the support he needs.
The Titans, by the way, 16th in pass block win rate, 26th in run block win rate. Can you guys guess who the worst team is in each category? Pass rush. So basically, who has the worst pass blocking O-line and the worst run blocking? It's two different teams.
I'm going to guess the worst run blocking is the Raiders and the worst pass blocking is the Bengals.
Keenan?
I'm gonna go for I'm gonna agree with Aiden about the Raiders. I think pass blocking was Chargers.
So the worst pass blocking was the Chargers. Very good job there, Keenan. They were 32nd at a 54% win rate, which is really bad. The worst run blocking team win rate, and run blocking is a little less. There's less separating the teams because the worst team has a 68% rate, while first place has 75. Whereas with pass rush, there's a much bigger gap. It's from 54 to 74, so there's more difference there. But it was the Texans had the worst run blocking offensive line, which I think
not surprised by that at all.
And the best pass O line, the Bears, and the best run O line was, hold up, I'm trying to pull it up. The Bills. So at least statistically, in terms of win rate, which is not an end all be all stat.
An end all be, but it's a good indicator.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I wonder how the Bears were so interesting because they did give up a lot of sacks, but I wonder how much of that is just Caleb Williams being a magician back there. Like
I'm
how
sure.
much of that is the O-line not actually being that good, but Caleb just doesn't get sacked.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how. As far as I understand it, win rate does not have to do with getting sacked. If
With
you give up a
yeah,
pressure, you give up a pressure.
hmm
But either way, I think like is Kansas City not like kind of the more obvious destination for Love than Tennessee, because I feel like Tennessee's a bit high considering they have so
Well,
many other needs.
they just signed
Oh, they
Kenneth
signed.
Walker in free agency.
That's true. Sorry,
So
we knew a little rusty.
the other location that I've seen a lot is eighth overall to the Saints for
Yeah, that
Love.
makes sense.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the Saints like could afford that, and like Alvin Alvin Kamara is
Very old.
certainly certainly in the twilight of his career. And adding Jeremiah Love would just it instantly makes any offense better.
Yeah, I think Saints is a good landing spot, even if they. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know he's going to be a game changer, but it's just hard when a lot of these teams have so many holes elsewhere. But the Saints would be a good one. And, you know, I don't know how you guys feel about Tyler Shuck, but I'm sure there is some optimism within New Orleans internally. So you figure, let's help him out with a run game, because that was not something he had to lean on, in all fairness to him, last
Yeah.
season. I wasn't super wowed by him, but they didn't have an incredible line. He didn't have incredible weapons nor an incredible run game. So maybe you want to give him another shot with some better stuff surrounding. I don't think that's the most
I
ridiculous thing in the world.
I mean, I really like Tyler Shuck. He was the runner up in offensive rookie of the year. Towards
I
the
think
backstage, like towards
that's
the
so
later
much.
stages of the season, he started playing. He was playing really good football, like towards the back half of the season. But it was clearly Tedderore McMillan's award.
Yeah, it was clearly Tet, and I think so much of that is like QB bias. Like I don't know,
Yeah,
with him being second. But anything else to talk about NFL draft? I think next week's going to be the mock draft. We kind of have to do it, right?
yeah,
Well, yeah.
that'll be fun.
I really need to. Because I've just been. I only make videos on basketball now. I've just been so locked in on hoops that, um, I'm washed in terms of like NFL offseason knowledge. So I'll get caught up to speed, and we'll have a proper mock draft. Well, let's get into our NBA. The regular season is over. We got play-in Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and then the playoff series starts Saturday, Sunday. I want to look at the playoff series that we already have, as well as the play-in games that we already have, considering this is being recorded Monday night, so none of them have been played yet. First off, real quick, do you guys like the play-in? I do. I feel similarly about the play-in as I kind of do the first four, though I like it even more, where it's just like I like seeing single elimination basketball, even if the teams aren't the most incredible. I don't really mind it that much, and I think it makes the end of year like fight for positioning more interesting, because there's a big gap between 6 and 7.
I like it. I mean, like I'm always for more like competitive games and games that matter. And
Bulls fan
like when
loves
you look
playing.
at some of these, yeah, like oh, I'm very familiar with the play-in. But like when you're looking at the play-in, like could you like imagine if the Hornets like this
Yeah.
Hornets team that's been so fun all year didn't have a chance to compete in the playoffs. Like now they do, which is
Dude,
great. Like the Clippers with Kawhi, like the Warriors with Curry, like these teams have potential to get into the playoffs, and I think that's really exciting.
oh, I also forgot.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about Mike Vrabel, NFL. 30-second take.
Oh, oh my gosh.
Diana Rossini is going to lose her job. Mike Vrabel is going to face zero repercussions
That's
because
the
Robert
crazy
Kraft
part.
is the owner.
That's the crazy part.
Like nothing is going to happen to Mike Vrabel.
I mean, like, what is there to say? As like a fellow journalist, like Like,
Alleged.
come on, bro. I know.
Maybe it was painted in a bad light, but
I'm still kind of waiting for like official statements and response to the whole thing, but like it's just such a bad look.
it's a bad look. It's a really bad look. Being at a hotel in Sedona, like it's a bad look.
What? What's wrong with going to Sedona? Lovely city.
It's a romantic location.
Okay.
They're interlocking fingers. It's a bad look.
I think investigative journalism comes in many forms.
Sure, Casey. Whatever you say.
Agree to disagree, buddy.
Whatever you say. Is that how you get your features?
No. I do not. No one that I've interviewed, I have slept with, nor gone to Sedona with, nor interlocked hands with. I keep it very professional.
Nor interlocked fingers with.
No, thank you.
Yeah, there's some very some very damning evidence out there.
But let's get back to basketball. Let's get back to the play-in. Let's talk about those Hornets. Let's talk about the Heat, the 9-10 matchup in the play-in. And I think that's a great point, Aidan. I think this Hornets team has been very hot as of recently. You know, they started off pretty rough at the beginning of the year with a lot of injuries, but they've been one of the better teams in basketball in the back half of the year. I have them pretty handedly beating the Heat. Let me check the line real quick.
Probably like 5.5. I don't know.
Yeah, you would be correct. It is 5.5.
5.5. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think when Khan, Brandon Miller, LaMelo, and Moussa Diabate are on the court at the same time together, they're one of the best, like, 4 players in on-off numbers, and they're all healthy, I believe, and they're going to be geared up to go. So as much as they're playing, you know, the second leader all time in points in the game, Mr. Bam Adebayo, I think the Heat just don't match up. The Heat just don't match up to the Hornets. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with that. The one thing I do like, I just want to mention about the play-in is, you know, I've seen so many instances of just a team will win the play-in and it just gets smoked by their first-round opponent. But it is at least a way for them to get some kind of momentum going into the actual playoffs.
And the Heat went all the way to the finals.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, it is certainly possible. Do I think that any of these play-in teams will make a Heat run and go all the way to the finals? Probably not. But I do think the Hornets can certainly make a very interesting first-round series.
I think the Hornets could win a series for sure.
I think them versus like, I don't know, who's the 2 seed right now in the East?
It would either be
Boston.
Boston or
it would have to be the Pistons because they're the 9 seed, so they can only get to the 8.
Okay, so
it would be the Pistons.
Them versus Detroit would be a fun series.
I would watch that.
Yeah.
I don't know that Detroit. I certainly don't think Detroit sweeps them. I think Charlotte at least gets 1,
and
maybe 2.
The Hornets, you know, they haven't had playoff basketball in a while. They've never won a playoff series. I think that would be a lot of fun. So I do hope they win, and I believe they will win. The other 9-10 matchup is Clippers-Warriors. I'll let you guys talk before I give my Clippers bias take.
The Warriors are so bad, dude. They're so bad. That's the one thing I guess I dislike about the play-in is that you are just going to get years where teams like the Warriors fall in. They're 8 games under 500. They've been on a huge losing streak. But the problem is that everyone else below them, even worse. So I've got the Clippers winning this one. I'm not sure. I saw someone on ESPN saying that they believe like the Clippers could be like a serious sleeper pick to make noise in the postseason. I don't know about that. You know, I do like this Clippers roster, especially after the trade deadline, since I've watched them probably as much as any other team because of you, Mr. Smith. But I don't know if I have them going super deep. It'd be fun, though. I want to see Kawhi.
They're not beating the Thunder.
I want to see Kawhi do something.
They're not beating the Thunder. They're not. That's the only team.
They're not
beating the Thunder. They're not. They might get a game on the Thunder. I'm excited. I want them to beat the Warriors and then whoever they would play in the 7-8 matchup, and I think they will. I think they will be the 8 seed, but they'd be lucky to get a game on the Thunder. I think they could have had a real
You're-
shot against like the Spurs or a 3 seed because they legitimately
Yeah.
have been a very different basketball team since they started off 6-23. They're much more indicative of like a 6 seed, but yeah.
You're not ready for playoff Benedict. You're not. Just get ready.
Oh,
I, I,
but
they're
I
not.
mean,
They're not beating the Thunder.
like, I will say like Curry in a playoff setting is always fun. Like Kawhi Curry matchup is going to be awesome. But either one of those teams wins, they're not beating the Thunder. So, it's cool, but like the Thunder are an absolute juggernaut, and neither one of those teams matches up very well at all.
Yeah. And then the other Western Conference play-in matchup is Suns Blazers. That will be here in Phoenix tomorrow. If the Clippers would have made it, I would have tried to go. But what do y'all think about this matchup? Because I don't know about you, Keenan, but it was talked about a lot at my job today at PHNX. I had to make a lot of content on it. I'm sure it was the same at Arizona Sports.
I wrote a Sun story today. It didn't have to do directly with the play-in, but I did have a lot of conversations about this upcoming matchup, mainly because I know a lot of people that will be at the game or broadcasting it. I don't know. This one's kind of weird to me. I've covered the Suns a lot, and the problem for me is that they just have like no momentum going into the playoffs whatsoever. I thought the game against the Rockets last week was their chance to prove that they could, you know, get hot, show what they're made of, and they totally blew it in that game. And I don't know. I'm not sure I love the Trailblazers. I don't know. I'm kind of torn, to be honest. I could absolutely see the Suns blowing this one, mainly because they are horrendous in the fourth quarter. But maybe the home field advantage is enough. I'm not sure.
I'm taking the Blazers. I have watched the Suns a lot. They've literally been the 7th seed like all year. But despite that, this is a particularly bad time. They have bad momentum. They're banged up. The vibes feel bad. But more importantly than that, like they're just too small for playoff basketball. They're going to be starting a lineup of Jalen Green, Devin Booker, Dylan Brooks, and then like Gillespie, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal. Like those are like rotation guys. It's going to be hard to play them all together. I would love if like Rasheer Fleming was ready, but he's just, he's a 4 point per game guy. Like I think he could be really cool in a year or two, but they're just going to be too small to match up with the Trailblazers, who are going to be bigger, more physical. Small teams don't do very well in the NBA playoffs. So that's why I'm out on the Suns there, despite them having an exciting, fun year. Don't get me wrong. And then I think the Blazers will go. They would then go on to play the Spurs, and I think Wemby will own Denny. If you know anything about that relationship.
I don't. Please elaborate a little bit. Do they not like each other? Is there a rivalry there?
Wemby's not a big fan of Denny.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I think the Blazers will beat the Suns. Due to League Pass, it feels like the Blazers are playing a game every game on League Pass. I mean, I've watched a lot of Blazers ball this year.
Mid, bro.
They're very like okay,
I
but
hate watching Denny.
they have Donovan. But they have Donovan Clingan,
He's so good.
who's too big, who's really, really good at basketball. He's too big to fail. They have Robert Williams. Like I do agree, they
Scoot
are
has been
probably
playing
just
pretty good
going to.
recently.
They are probably just going to kill the Suns with their size.
Yeah, like I like his chances against the Suns, but like if they have any chance of even competing against the Thunder, Scoot's got to maintain this form.
Or they'd play the Spurs if they win. If they lose and then win, they would play the Thunder. But yeah, either way, no, Scoot's been playing pretty good recently. They put him in the starting lineup, and he's been a better defender. He's shooting better. Like I don't know, he's probably, I don't know if he'll ever be worth the second overall pick, but I think he can be a solid starter guy. Yeah. But the other 7-8, our last play-in matchup, Sixers Magic. You know what I would love? I would love if the Magic lost and then they lost to the Hornets and didn't make the playoffs. Because, oh my God, I was so high on this team coming into the year. I think in my preseason ranking, I had the Magic at like 3 seed, 2 seed, 4 seed. Like, I had them very high. I thought the Desmond Bane edition was going to be big. I just thought this team was going to be awesome with a healthy Suggs. They have disappointed so much.
Yeah.
That game against the Celtics yesterday was just unacceptable. They were going up against Boston's backups. They had a near double-digit lead at halftime. They blew it. I'm officially out on this. If I haven't said it already on this show, I'm out on the Magic. I'm tired of the season for Orlando. I think serious changes need to at least be pondered about what they're going to do going into next season. Will that be a coaching change? Will that be moving some serious pieces? I'm not sure where it's going to come from, but with the way that they've been playing, and it is important to note that they did have a 5-game winning streak before losing to the Celtics yesterday. But just with the way they've been playing, you've expected so much more all year. I don't know. I just don't like their chances. I'm done with the Magic this season. I'm tired of talking about them.
I mean, they got dogged by Luka Garza, Baylor Shireman, and Ron Harper Jr. Not exactly NBA All-Stars. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, Baylor Shireman put up.
You Magic.
Baylor Shireman put up. I'm most stunned at Ron Harper Jr. putting up 27 points against them. Like, Baylor Shireman's he's a pretty good player. Luka Garza's cool. Ron Harper Jr. Spent almost the entire year in the G League, and he put up 27 points on the Magic starters. I really don't like this Magic team. I don't think they're very good. They do not shoot the ball very well, and I was hoping that's what Desmond Bane could offer for them. He's been okay. Paolo Banchero, we all know about him. PB No J. This Magic team just isn't very good. I think I think the Sixers are going to win that game pretty easily. Like, I don't see where the Magic are able to really score in a playoff setting.
Yeah, I don't know. They're gonna struggle. I got the Sixers winning as well. I'm excited to watch VJ. But let's get into the playoff series. I'm gonna start off with, I think, the easiest one to pick: Lakers Rockets. Look, I know that you like to be doomeristic about the Rockets, Keenan, and I agree. I'm not super big on them, but the Lakers with no Luka or Austin Reeves are gonna lose to the Rockets. I think we can all agree.
Yeah, I mean, I do feel like the Rockets are going to win the series. Do I think that they're going to sweep them and make it look easy? No. I could see them dropping 1 or 2 games just by not finishing off their prey and, just tripping over themselves like they've done all season. But, yeah, with how banged up the Lakers are, I just don't see the Lakers making it past the first round. And unfortunately, the Rockets, I think, are just going to get, they get the prize of getting blasted by the Thunder.
I mean, I thought the Rockets would beat the Lakers in a 7-game series before the injuries. I certainly feel post injuries. I know Luka is coming back from Spain, I think, today, like, with whatever
yeah, but he's not going to play the
procedure he had going over there. I think they're going to see how he is, but he's likely going to be out this series. I know Austin Reeves is going to be out. It's LeBron and Jake LaRavia and Luke Kennard. It is not a very good supporting cast. I think the Rockets win this series pretty easily.
I'm reading an article.
Although I love Bron, and maybe he can be turn back the clock and carry a bad team as the first option. But he's 41 years old. I can't see it for him.
No, I mean, he's still on the 4 to 6 week. He maybe would be back for a game 6. But oh no. You guys did I cut out for a second?
Yeah.
Cut out for a second, but you're back. We're all good.
Yeah.
Do you need us to talk, or are you good?
No. We're on my. It's just gonna cut out sometimes. We're on my phone hotspot.
It's all good.
Okay.
But no. he's not. He might be back for a game 6, but
I don't know that it gets to a
That-
game 6.
yeah, I don't know if we get there. And yeah, but the starting lineup for the Lakers, most likely in the playoffs, is going to be Braun, DeAndre Ayton, Jake LaRavia, Rui, and Marcus Smart, with Luke Kennard,
I think it's
Jared
I think
Vanderbilt.
they might just start Luke Kennard. He's been pretty good.
You
Like
Luke Kennard over Marcus
relatively.
Smart, like he's
Maybe you need the defense. I don't know.
gonna Kennard's gonna get eaten alive in the playoffs. I've seen this a lot with Luke Kennard. He's been on a lot of good teams, and a lot of fan bases fall in love with him because he's a really good shooter. But he's just too poor of a defender. It might be an O'Mahony situation where the guy on our intramural team where like he's hitting shots for you, but
He's
he's
just
getting
getting picked
hunted.
on.
He's getting picked on. He's getting hunted. He's getting played off the floor. So we'll see. I mean, he'll definitely play a lot either way, but that's a really poor lineup. So
Then you have like Jackson Hayes off the bench.
and he's hurt. He's questionable. He's not even a lock to play. So it's really looking rough.
Yeah.
The other Western Conference matchup though is a lot closer. Nuggets Wolves 3-6.
I mean, I love it.
Yeah, this is going to be cinema. I remember the last time that these two faced off, and it's one of the most memorable playoff series that comes to my mind. I think about it all the time. This is going to be interesting. I think the big question for the Nuggets is that, will this be the year that they finally get a little bit of depth around Jokic and Murray? One thing, I was listening to one of my favorite basketball content creators, and he mentioned
Who is it?
Christian Brown. Is it what's his name? SROS? I think is his name. He's a
Not-
YouTuber.
Not familiar.
Not familiar.
I'll have to
yeah.
check him out.
I feel like I'm really tapped because like I watch a lot of basketball, TikTok, YouTube, whatnot, trying to get tapped in with all that, and I'm not familiar, but I once you're done, Keenan, I want to mention something else, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm just really curious because I want to see how pieces like, how is Christian Brown going to do? How's Cam Johnson going to do? How will they factor into this playoff series? And, it'd be foolish to dismiss, I feel like I almost expect the Timberwolves to be a team where it doesn't really matter as much what the seeding says. They're a team that has come alive in the postseason these last few years as they were the 7 seed last year, and they made it all the way to the Western Conference Finals. This is going to be a battle. I can't wait for this one. I will be watching almost every game. Maybe the Nuggets' depth with it being improved is enough to help them prevail, but I see this going to 6 games. I would love if this went 7.
I think it'll be a 6 or a 7 game series. I'm gonna take the Nuggets. They've been banged up a lot this year. They've gone through a lot of injuries, but the Jokic Murray duo is really strong. And I really like the supporting pieces they have around them. Now they haven't popped as much as I thought this year they would. Like Cam Johnson hasn't been as good as I thought he would be as an addition. Christian Braun has been banged up and whatnot, but they've still had some other guys come alive. Like when a guy like Aaron Gordon or Tim Hardaway has been hurt, like a Peyton Watson has looked better. So I think they just have so many sizey wings that they can surround with around Jokic and Murray that I think they'll be good enough to take the Wolves. It's a little bit unfortunate as well because I think before the last game of play, the Nuggets were supposed to take on the Rockets and the Wolves were going to take on the Lakers or something like that. Or I think it might have been, Lakers, Wolves, and Nuggets, Rockets. And that would have been, I think I would have taken the Nuggets over the Rockets and the Wolves over the Lakers respectively. The two better of the middle teams, I think, are playing.
Yeah, I would agree. This series is going to be an absolute bloodbath. I have a feeling. I think it's going to go 7. I do think the Nuggets are a little bit better, and they have the best player in the series. Even though Anthony Edwards is amazing, Jokic is Jokic, and in the playoffs, he turns up, and we all know about Jamal Murray in the playoffs.
Yeah. So we've kind of all agreed on this because we all picked Rockets, we all picked Nuggets. How are we feeling about Cavs Raptors?
Interesting. I picked when we were talking about what teams we were intrigued by most going into the postseason. I mentioned the Cavaliers, and I'll just bring up the point again where what do they do? How do they respond from last year's disappointment going into this postseason? Now, I'm glad to see Toronto back in the postseason, and obviously, I'm really excited to see a playoff Scotty Barnes for the first time. I don't know how many games do you think is going to be played in this series, you guys?
Okay, here's my thing, right? I think the outlook for me is with the Cavs, they have enough talent, but they always get banged up, A. And B, you have to worry about Harden's playoff antics, right? Where he's going to have a game or two where he really goes off, but he's going to have a game or two where he really sinks you, and it could just straight up lose you the game. I've seen it many a time. With the Raptors, it's more interesting because I feel like we know what we'll kind of get with the Cavs, more or less. Harden throws a wrench into things, but we've seen this iteration of them in the playoffs quite a few times. The Raptors, this version of them hasn't made it. And it'll be interesting to see because you have Shed and Quickly as the ball handlers, and then you have these wings who can all kind of self-create with Ingram and RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes. But I just wonder how the distribution of shots is going to look like and the distribution of on-ball stuff. Because especially in a playoff setting, everything gets amplified more so. I think if it goes I could either see the Cavs winning in 5 or the Raptors in 7, if that makes sense. I just get worried if it goes to a game 7 that Harden could collapse. And when they're sending so many strong, versatile wing defenders at him, it becomes into a Donovan Mitchell ISO show. And, guys like Mobley's perimeter game still hasn't developed enough to the point where he can be a real difference maker in that area, I feel like. And everything gets really congested for the Cavs. So that was me kind of talking through it in real time. Still, I'll say Cavs in 6. They go up 3-1, Raptors win, and then they close it out.
I agree. I think the Cavs win. My big reasoning was I think the combination of Evan Mobley and Jared Allen is going to be too much. I don't know that Jakob Poeltl is going to really be able to hold up versus the bigs of Cleveland in a playoff series.
Scotty can guard Mobley, all right. That's not an
undoable
at all.
Yeah, but would you rather have Scotty guarding Donovan Mitchell maybe just because he's the best defender on the court? And Donovan Mitchell is the best offensive player.
I think the Mobley Allen duo could create havoc for sure, but I don't think it's going to be on the offensive end. I don't think they're going to be I don't think the Raptors are going to not be able to game plan too much around this Cavs offense. They have so many good wings defenders that they can throw at them outside of Quickly, who's going to struggle. But I feel they can put why can't Brandon Ingram guard Evan Mobley really? Not as good as Scotty would, but still. But I do think on the defensive end, so much of this Raptors team, they don't have a whole lot of great three-point shooters, especially Scotty. So when you have those two bigs in Mobley and Allen, who are such good rim protectors, it will make life a little bit harder for the Raptors to the point where it will probably get uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, Raptors really want to try to get inside and play their mid-range game, and the two bigs of Cleveland is going to make it really tough to do that. And I don't know that you can rely on Scotty Barnes or even really RJ Barrett to hit a lot of threes.
We love RJ Barrett on this podcast.
We do.
His reclamation.
Casey Smith needs some.
I'm an EP
needs
man.
Some sleep.
His reclamation
he's
project
sleepy.
in Toronto's been nice because he's a 20-point per game guy. RJ Barrett. He plays some decent defense. RJ Barrett. He's a cool piece. So we're all going Cavs then. Last playoff matchup,
so.
Knicks Hawks. This is the one because I really like the Knicks, but I also really like what the Hawks have been doing recently. They've been hot. Because what they did when they got rid of Trae Young and they brought in CJ McCollum is they got 4 guys on the perimeter in Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels and TJ McCollum who can all dribble and all create off the bounce. And then they surround that with Okongwu, who's a shooting center. That's a really scary formula. And that's a really strong formula offensively, even if, each of those 4 ball handlers has their own issues. Dyson Daniels can't create for himself a whole lot because he shoots 11% from 3, and they're going to leave him open, which we've seen all year long, and the Knicks will surely do. And CJ is a little bit smaller, won't defend so well, but it's a really hard thing to contend with, and NBA teams have struggled with it. And I think it might be enough for the Knicks to handle. If I had to guess, Dyson on Jalen Brunson is a great matchup for the Hawks defensively. They profile well there. I would guess the Knicks, because what teams have been doing is they've been putting a big on Dyson Daniels and just letting him shoot and live. I wonder if they would do that, or they would just put Brunson on him and have Brunson just kind of not have to play defense as much and save energy for offense and roam. I'll be interested to see how they do that. But I think this Hawks, they profile well to be able to guard the Knicks. They have the offensive formula that causes a lot of trouble outside of Dyson not being able to shoot. Yeah, I think I am going to take the Hawks in 7. This is a very close series for me.
Ooh, I'm probably going to flip-flop on this series a lot. The problem with the Knicks, and I feel like we've had this conversation over the years, is I'm still just not really comfortable with their bench and who rounds out their lineup. And we watched this game. I think it was Aidan. I don't know if we were all 3 in the same room, but we were watching Hawks versus Knicks earlier. I think it was like a week ago. Fantastic game where Jalen Brunson, I think, hit the game-winning shot, and CJ McCollum almost had one of the greatest half-court buzzer beaters I've ever seen. But Josh Hart was horrible in that game, and that's what I'm worried about. They don't have their lineup and bench completely ironed out like in years past. They still made it to the conference finals with that in mind last year, but could it cost them against a team with a lineup that I really like in Johnson, Alexander Walker, Daniels, McCollum? I really like the Hawks going into the postseason. Like you said, Casey, man, you know what? I'll just pick. It'd be really funny if the Knicks lost. So I'll go Hawks in 7.
Yeah.
I probably, this is probably the toughest matchup for me to pick. I think I'm going to go the Knicks in 7. It's really close. But
this will be the series.
I do.
I feel like I can't miss a game of this series. I'm definitely going to watch it.
Yeah, I'm very, very interested. But I agree. They'll probably put Brunson on Dyson Daniels because Dyson Daniels is easily the Hawks' worst offensive player, and Brunson is easily the worst defender. The Hawks will probably put Jalen Johnson on OG Anunoby. They do match up well. I just think this Knicks team is a little bit more talented and they have more playoff experience. But I do agree, the trouble with the Knicks every year is that they simply they don't have a bench. They're going to have to play their top guys 40-plus minutes every game. Because if all of a sudden you're saying, hey, Landry Shamet or Miles McBride, we need a big bucket from you, it's going to get a little scary.
Yeah. But I think that wraps up our playoff thoughts. Are you guys ready to get into Player of the Week?
Yeah.
Sick. Who do you guys got?
Who would like to start?
Aidan, you can go first.
Okay.
Or Casey, you could go first.
No, I have to go last. That's the tradition at this point.
All right. I'll go first. My guy is going to be Mr. Ryan Nembhard. For his performance against my Chicago Bulls, I know, but 15 points, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, and get this, 23 assists. Mavericks rookie record actually broke his head coach Jason Kidd's record. Ryan Nembhard has been a very underrated player this year. I believe he went undrafted, which if you saw what Andrew Nembhard did, I don't know how you let the other Nemhard go undrafted. But he's been a very surprising player, and I like him for the future. But yeah, 23 assists is a wild stat line to put up.
This makes history for the first ever Breakdown After Dark player that has been a player of the week for multiple people. Ryan Nemhard was my player of the week earlier on this year. He was my player of the week in the 10th episode we did. I think that was the first one we did on computer. I think so. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, because I remember he dropped like 40 or something. But no, he's sick. I mean, I kind of understand why he went undrafted. He was a little bit older at Gonzaga and didn't.
And he's a small guy too.
But he's been having a good year. So, Keenan, who do you got?
I've got a guy whose stat line probably won't really pop out. It's really the player of the week for me because of the sentimental value. Give me Amen Thompson against the Suns on Tuesday, April 7th. 22 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists on 10 of 16 shooting. It's mainly for the reason that this was a really strong offensive performance that helped the Rockets come all the way back against the Suns. But that moment when he trash talked Jalen Green and said, "Don't talk, I'm on you, boy." That hit different for me because unlike a lot of I support a lot of the team like sports teams in Phoenix. I despise the Phoenix Suns, so it meant a lot to me to see him lock down Jalen Green.
What's your hatred for the Suns?
Well, mainly because I think it kind of got kicked into overdrive with the KD trade and how much trash they talked during the season when the Rockets were kind of down in spurts. But it's mainly just because I think I hate their fan base. I'm not gonna lie. I think I think their team is always overblown. Like I've heard so many times about how magical the season was. I was like, you finished 8 games over 500. I know your expectations were low, but congratulations on your 0 depth. And 2, I just think the fan base is kind of toxic.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm not a big Suns guy either, so I definitely don't blame you. But yeah, I got my player of the week. My player of the week is Millie Quinn, ASU water polo forward. She set the all-time goals record in women's water polo MPSF conference history, which, to compare it, imagine the MPSF is it's kind of like if Prime, Kentucky, Kansas, Duke, and UConn were all in a conference.
It's a super conference.
The only teams that have ever won the national championship in water polo, in women's water polo, are in the MPSF. No other conference has ever won it, ever. So the fact that she set the MPSF record basically means she set the women's record, but there's just
the national record.
People in bummy conferences that have scored more goals. But anyways, she set the record for the most goals in MPSF history in collegiate water polo for a woman. Plays for ASU. I'm tapped into ASU water polo as the coverage director for it. And I want to ask you guys, do you think this is ethical or not? She was at second. No, so she was at third on the rankings. They had their conference tournament game, lost, got eliminated, and didn't play very well. I think she only had 2 goals, which is not great. She averages 5. So 2 is not very good. But then they have a 5th place game, and she goes out, scores 5 goals, and sets the record. 5th place game, goes out, scores 5 goals, sets the record. Coach plays her the whole game.
Unethical
record breaking.
Why is there a 5th place game? Why is there a 5th place game? 1,
why is there a 5th place game? And 2, there's a pretty clear motivation as to why. She played the entire game. There's no hiding what was going on there.
I agree. I agree. It was pretty unethical, but she is the MPSF all-time leader in goals, and I think that's pretty sick. And you know what? I would do the same thing if I was her. So I still decided to give her my player of the week. I thought that was pretty hilarious. Yeah, I guess not much else to say outside of that. But let's get into our little college basketball segment. I honestly didn't have a whole lot in the rundown for this. I kind of just wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on any of the transfers that interested you or any of the portal stuff going on in general. This doesn't have to be a very long segment.
Yeah, we don't have to drag it out too much, but Aidan, let's. I think we'll start with the elephant in the room, and that is, holy heck, Louisville is. They're not playing around this year. He woke up for transfer portal season. He's been killing it.
Yeah, they had like a dual visit, which I've never really heard of. Not aware that this was a like effective strategy, but clearly it was for Louisville. They had Jackson Shelstad and Floyd Badunga on campus visiting at the same time, and they landed both of them. And these were two top-end recruits. Badunga was the number one player in the portal, and I think the reports were that they spent around $8 or $9 million in NIL total to land these two recruits. Badunga got paid like $5 million, and Shelstad got paid like $4 million. Pretty absurd. Floyd Badunga was my favorite. I really like Kansas basketball. He was my favorite player from Kansas hoops. So it sucks to see him leave. But I am very intrigued to see what he will look like at Louisville. And if Louisville's a really good squad next year, like that's very exciting for the ACC that I think desperately needs more contenders outside of Duke, Virginia, maybe North Carolina is back under Mike Malone, but they were not great this year.
Yeah, I think this is huge for Louisville because I think the past 2 seasons have shown that they're on the right track with Pat Kelsey, but I think they've gotten kind of stuck in second gear. I think last year was pretty disappointing considering they had a talent like Michael Brown Jr. on the roster, and they still, 6th seed, only made it to the round of 32. I think they know that they can do better than that, and this is 2 huge pieces towards that. And this makes me happy to say this, but I think the other big winner of the transfer portal so far is Sean Miller in the Texas Longhorns. They've killed it so far with Isaiah Johnson and David Punch on top of getting Titus back for another season. The Longhorns looking like, maybe I don't want to say that they'll be a lock for the top 10, but I think they'll definitely be a top 15 preseason team now.
Yeah, David Punch is a great ad. He was great at TCU. It's huge bringing Titus back. That's big for Texas. ASU brought in Gonzaga scraps. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I did see that. I was trying to look into who that was. I really don't know, but you played at Gonzaga, so that's cool.
Yeah, he averaged 6 points a game. I watched a little bit of footage on him because I had to for PHNX. I watched every single bucket he made in 2024. And there was probably, legitimately no joke, I watched every single bucket. The video was 10 minutes, A, which is not that long. And B, he maybe took 10 dribbles. Everything he does
is just a lot of dunks,
which is kind of cool. No, he's like a guard. He's like a 2-3, and everything was cutting to the basket, catch and shoot threes, corner threes. I probably 70% of his tape was corner threes. So I have no idea what ASU basketball is going to look like, but I guess that's not so bad. Getting a guy, he seemed like a good defender from what I watched, and is a good off-ball mover and catch and shoot guy. I don't know, that's fine.
I mean, I will say there's not been a lot to be truly excited about at ASU hoops. We were pretty excited when we got Josan Sainon and Jane Quains, but that team stunk. This is probably the most excited that I am for ASU hoops because I think we can get a good transfer portal class, and we have a new head coach that is proven at a pretty good program.
He also has the plague.
Yeah, I was gonna ask. So, can we get an update on Randy Bennett? This isn't funny anymore. Where is he?
The people that I've talked to within my ties to ASU have told me that it's not. How did they say it? They said it's not because he has an illness right now, and he legitimately hasn't been with the team. They said it's not major, but it's not minor. It's going on and it's happening, and it's not expected to affect his long-term health, but it's also not something that he can deal with right away. I don't know the specifics, but I've heard a lot of different theories or rumors of what it is. I won't even like get into those speculations, but yeah, apparently he's just really sick right now, but he's gonna be fine by season start, which is kind of crazy that it even has to be said at all.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, you talked about ASU's ad from Gonzaga. I was going to ask if you watched tape on Marcus Vaughns, who was the first transfer portal edition for ASU. And then I remembered there's no tape to watch because he didn't
No,
play at all at LSU. But I got
he
to
gets a
write
red
about
shirt.
that
So.
right as the news broke out for ASU. It's cool that I think he mainly chose ASU because he has ties to David Patrick, who is the new associate head coach for ASU. And he's pretty interesting because he's got good size, and he was rated pretty highly coming out of Australia. He just doesn't have like any proven tape. We have no idea what he looks like.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm excited to see some of the St. Mary's guys come over. Also in SDSU related news, Magoon Guath apparently got an 2-year, $8 million NIL offer from Kentucky. He's gone. Farrell Compton's going to Oregon. They lost 85% of their minutes to the portal, which honestly isn't a terrible thing. Before the year, it was one of the most hyped up SDSU teams. I thought they were going to be a top 5 defense. I thought they were going to be like a top 4 seed, and they sucked. Didn't even make the tournament. I'm fine with kind of gutting it and figuring it out. But do we want to get into MLB?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
What do you got for me, Keenan?
I don't like to just shoehorn in my favorite teams, but I think it's the Houston Astros to start the 2026 season have been awful, absolutely awful. They are currently on an 8-game losing streak. They just got swept in a 4-game series against the Seattle Mariners. This team is terrible, and the culprit can be kind of split into 2 factors. One, they have had quite possibly the worst pitching like I've ever seen in years, and that has to do with the second reason. Just like last season, everybody is injured. They announced all their roster transactions and injury moves today. Legit, I think they put 12 people on the injured list, and I think 8 of those were pitchers. Everyone is injured, and it's pathetic that we're going through this whole thing again a year after we had the most injuries in the league. It's I don't know what to say at this point. I think the moves have been flops. They were pretty conservative in the offseason. It's backfired. Their 2 biggest additions in the pitching staff have been god awful or injured. It may be time to utter the dreaded R word in sports: rebuild.
Well, it doesn't seem like it's just the Astros that are struggling. It seems like it's kind of the whole division that's been pretty bad.
It's been a disaster, and it's been kind of a surprising start to the MLB season. If you look at a lot of these, and I get it, we're 17 games into the season, but if you look division by division, there's not really any like clear cut runaway teams that are looking amazing to start. I feel like everyone's pretty even, but man, the AL West has just been the best team is the Rangers, who are just 9-7. The Mariners have been a huge disappointment so far this season. I mean, obviously they get back on track by sweeping the Astros in 4 games, but their big offseason contract, Josh Naylor, he's been terrible. Julio Rodriguez, he's been terrible. The pitching has been so-so, but this is a team that a lot of people picked to win the American League pennant. When the Angels can be considered one of the better teams in the division, you know something's wrong, because the Angels, in my mind, were the worst team in the MLB coming into this season. The AL West has just been a mess.
No, I mean it's weird saying it's only 17 games in because that's legitimately the whole NFL season. But no, I agree with what you're saying. I mean, as an outsider, I'm surprised that the Mariners are doing so bad. Like specifically, I'm sure there's a bunch of teams you can point to, but I don't know. They were a contender last year, and not so much this year. So, anything else from the MLB?
Now, honestly, if you have anything, Aiden, you can throw it in.
Just that the White Sox have called up a lot of their top prospects. So, top pitching prospect Noah Schultz will be making his debut on Tuesday, I believe. So that's pretty exciting.
No Hagen Smith.
Not yet. But Noah Schultz has gotten the call, and he will be making his MLB debut tomorrow. So that's pretty fun. I'll definitely try to tune in.
Yeah. All right. Well, I know that
That's about
the
it
NBA
though.
playoffs are coming, but in a lot of people's opinion, the NHL playoffs, hockey, it might be the best playoff atmosphere in the world.
It's up there. It really is. I mean, even people that only follow hockey passingly, they will tell you how electric the Stanley Cup playoffs are. It is a different breed. The way that you guys feel going into the NBA playoffs, that's how I feel going into the Stanley Cup playoffs. I've been following pretty much the entire season. I can't wait. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah. What before we get into like specific talking points, what teams or matchups are you most excited to see, or even just anything at all?
Oh, okay. So I feel like the obvious one, and to be clear, I do want to clarify before we start that today every single playoff spot has been clinched, but not every single the seeding can change.
Mm-hmm.
So just because a team is second in their division now, that could change later. But as of right now, the Sabres versus the Senators would be maybe the most first round series. Obviously, we talked about the Sabres already. They just broke the second longest playoff drought in uh, pro sports. They've had the best season in years. They've looked like a complete dynamo in terms of scoring, thanks to guys like Darlene, Power. The trade for Josh Doan has been incredible, but the Senators have been absolutely white hot as of late. They were a team that were looking dead in the water, and people were contemplating whether or not they make serious changes by the trade deadline. They have been unstoppable as of late, and that's thanks to Linus Allmark in net. I could absolutely see the Senators shocking the world and going into the second round, beating the Sabres. It would suck to see the Sabres flame out like that, but it's going to be a fun series.
Yeah. So what that last spot in the playoffs? Who is in the race for it?
So when I wrote that down, I wasn't sure if they had clinched yet, but it is official that
Mm-hmm.
the LA Kings will be the final wild cards. Well, I should say they clinched one of two wild card spots in the Western Conference today. They could still leapfrog the Utah Mammoth. So to kind of put it into
Because how many
perspective,
games do we have left?
so that just
Two.
one. I think there's only one. There's one more game for every team left.
I'm looking. It says Utah still has two more to play. So some teams probably have one. Some teams might have two.
You might be correct. It's at this point, most teams only have one because a lot of teams play today, but some teams will play tomorrow. At the end of the day, the season will be wrapped up by Thursday. So we'll either get the Avalanche, who just won the President's Trophy. It'll be Avalanche versus the Mammoth or the Kings. Uh, Golden Knights versus Mammoth or the Kings. Now, I would really like to see. I think Utah versus Colorado would be really interesting, and I have mixed feelings about it because, when I first came here to Arizona, I was kind of hoping to see the Coyotes. I never got to go to a game, and then obviously they moved freshman year. I can't really find it in my heart to root for the Mammoth. I feel like they should still be here. It would be a great series, though. The Mammoth looked like a serious dark horse, and despite the Avalanche having the best record in the entire NHL, they've looked pretty mortal as of late.
Yeah, I feel the same thing about the Coyotes. Like I remember coming to ASU being like, "Oh man, like I want to get more into hockey. Like there's an NHL team here because I truly have never gotten into the NHL all that much." And then they like, I followed them a little bit. I was a big fan of Logan Cooley and whatnot. I thought he was a player that I got attached to. And then they dipped, and I was like, I don't know. I lost the attachment. And I think if they were still here, I'd probably be a much bigger NHL fan. But yeah, it does feel weird. I never like teams who just like moved. You know what I mean? Like I didn't like the Rams when they first moved from St. Louis. That really stung. Or the Chargers going from San Diego to LA was rough. A lot of the times there's some bad blood there from the neutral fan.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of understand like how you felt. I know it must have been hard when the Chargers left, And it wasn't until the Mammoth moved where man, like once they leave the city that you're in, you don't care anymore. Like, what's the point? Like,
Mhm.
I get that maybe the attachment has been there for years, but I mean, why should you care?
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing with the Titans leaving Houston. I'm sure there's a lot of love there too.
Yeah. When the Titans changed their jerseys back to the Oilers colors, my dad was really pleased. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I'm sure he was. But what else you got for me before we move on to MMA?
I think really the last thing I have is this is a really interesting postseason because this is the first time I think in almost 40 years where the team that Cup Finals won the President's Trophy last year, they both missed the playoffs entirely. Winnipeg and Florida are out back-to-back champions, not in the postseason this year. We will get a new champion. It's going to be an interesting race. I feel like you can make a case for almost every team this year.
Nice. Yeah, I love to hear that. I don't know. I'm always a fan of rooting for like the new teams to win a championship. Like every year in the Super Bowl, I want it to be a new squad. Like last year, I wanted it to be like, I don't know, it would have been cool if it was like Jaguars, Bears, or something. I know the Bears have technically won a Super Bowl, but it's been long
It's
enough.
been
Where
so
it's
long.
certainly
It's been a while.
it's been a minute. But either way, why don't we finish off our little show here with the MMA? What do you got for me, Aiden?
Um, yeah, so we had UFC 327 in Miami. Um, Headline main event was Yuri Prohaska versus Carlos Ulberg, and Carlos Ulberg got it done. He got a first round knockout, but this fight was pretty nuts to watch live because Ulberg he stepped back after like a punch and clearly like his knee gave out, like he blew his knee out and he was struggling to stand. He was getting kicked and he was like his knee was giving out on him. Um and like it was weird. Like Yuri Prohaska looked like he was kind of getting tentative, like almost like he felt bad for him that he got injured, and he kind of let his guard down. And um Olberg caught him with a beautiful check left hook that he was looking to set up all fight, dropped him and knocked him out, and he is the new champ. Now it'll be very interesting to see like what that recovery will look like and when he'll potentially be able to defend the belt. I was really rooting for Yuri Prohaska to be able to be the champ again, but Carlos Ulberg's a very fun fighter as well. But this fight was nuts to watch. He was literally a one-legged fighter and
Because
still somehow pulled off the knockout.
the injury was an ACL, correct? I don't think you had said that yet.
Uh, I think almost like I saw some videos about it. And if you look on the replay, like you can see like there's like a divot like in his knee. It's almost certainly a torn ACL.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, yeah, that's
That
all the more impressive.
incredible. That is just incredible.
Like just the adrenaline was going. Like they interviewed him after the fight, like Joe Rogan interviewed him and was like, yeah, like kind of what happened. Like it looked like your something, your leg gave out, and he was like, yeah, I blew my knee out.
Nice. I mean, yeah, I guess at that point you know, and the fight's over. What other
Yeah.
fights
And
really caught your eye?
um another fight that really caught my eye was Paulo Costa and Azamat Murzakanov. Paulo Costa had moved up from middleweight to light heavyweight. He was fighting Murzakanov, who at the time was 16-0, undefeated, sixth ranked in the world, and Paulo Costa put on an absolute masterclass. I mean, he looked like the Paulo Costa of old that was, making a run at the middleweight title. He looked he looked unbelievable. He was striking well. He was defending. He was really just hurting Murzakanov to the body. And eventually, uh, Murzakanov had just taken too much damage. I don't know that he even really got knocked out. He took a kick to the head that like didn't even really wobble him, but he just kind of crumbled to the ground. The accumulation of damage over the fight was just, it was too much. So I'm interested to see like what the future of Costa looks like at light heavyweight. it seems like he's found his new home in his new division. Like he looked he looked really good. Like I can't stress enough how impressive this performance was from him.
Yeah. And then I think the last thing you had on our rundown was, in your opinion, the greatest heavyweight fight of all time.
Um, it very well could have been. I mean, Josh Hokett and Curtis Blades were absolutely slugging.
How big were these
Like
guys?
uh, so let's see, Blades 6'4", 260. Josh Hokett is I think about 6'2", 235. Interesting note about Hokett is he is a former NFL player. He was on the Arizona Cardinals. I think Arizona Cardinals. No, 49ers, sorry. He was on their practice squad as a fullback. He played fullback and tight end at Fresno State and then transitioned to MMA. He's a very interesting person, like personality wise. He has kind of like this macho man, like Randy Savage aspect to him, like where he has these crazy post fight interviews and all this stuff leading up to the fight. But regardless of how you feel about him as a person, the guy is flat out, he can flat out fight. He is super entertaining. I believe he flipped Curtis Blades off during the fight. I think 9 times was the total. Um, like super entertaining fighter. But this was a absolute war. Um, Perhaps after our show I can try to turn this fight on and watch it because not only was this maybe the greatest heavyweight fight of all time, this was one of the greatest fights period that I've ever seen. Um, how neither one of these guys got knocked out, how the fight didn't get stopped, I don't know. But this is this is the type of fight that if you want to try to introduce your friends into MMA, you show them this fight.
Yeah. What would I think of off the top of my head as like the go-to fight that like
There's a
maybe
couple that come to mind
I don't know.
for me.
Would you say
Um,
is the 7-second knee knockout, that doesn't count? That's not like that's a
that's
cool
pretty
moment,
cool.
but
It's a
that's not
cool
like a
highlight,
real.
but
It's not like a
a true
real.
fight, like a true fights that I would go to would be I think Roy McDonald versus Robbie Lawler is the one that like most people point to as the greatest fight of all time. Dan Hooker, Dustin Poirier was a really good fight. Um, but Joshua Van, Brandon Royval from last year was really, really good as well. But like this one is certainly up there. I mean, this was an absolute war. Like there's really no other way to describe it. These guys went to war for 15 minutes.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up MMA. That wraps up everything we had on the rundown. The other thing I was gonna say earlier that I wanted to state was you're familiar with the State of the League, right, Aiden? The Pablo Escobar is a
Yes,
podcast with
yes,
Jokic Joestar.
yes. Pablo
Every year
Escobar.
at the beginning of the year, they do an episode for every single team, like preseason, to like, and they talk
Hmm.
with someone who's a content creator from each team. And there was, I think, like 4 teams they didn't have someone, and one of them was the Clippers this past year. So a semi goal of mine is to keep up the
Is to
content.
be that
Is to
guy.
be that guy. Is to come around in June or
That would
no,
be
it'd be
that would
like
be
August
awesome.
or whatever, and I'd be like, hey, here's my TikTok. I got X amount of followers. This is the motion I got. I'd love to come on and be your Clippers guy for the episode, and get to
And get to talk with Jokic,
get
Joestar, and
get
Pablo
to
Escobar.
talk with ask Pablo. What would you want me to ask Pablo?
Um, just ask him literally anything about the Bulls.
Yeah. Ask him about. Oh, he is.
Ask him about the caveman,
He was very happy
Arturas
that Carniceau was.
Carniceau.
Yeah, he was very happy. He made a hate post about Bob Myers, and
Why?
I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you after this.
Okay.
He not a hate post. He was like, I'll just explain it later. But that would be super
Yeah.
cool. If the Breakdown After Dark got a collab like that, it would be revolutionary. Truly,
That would
truly,
be very cool.
it'd be revolutionary. But mini goal of mine. We'll see. We'll see if it happens. But that's all I have for today on the Breakdown After Dark.